Welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. Hope you are. Will you join us for another Premier League roundup show? No Sean this week. He's in Lanzarote. We're here slumming it in a cold and wet England. And Josh, Villa's weekend was quite bleak, wasn't it?
No, not the greatest. Yeah, certainly a big shock, but no, grim.
We will come on to that a little bit later on. Firstly, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, more good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, all right. Hello to everybody joining us in the chat. Our resident Spurs fan, Ronnie, is here. He's coming in with the blows early. Look, good evening. Oh, we'll get onto that a little bit later on. We'll start, though, at Old Trafford, and the same old story for Everton. Unfortunately, Manchester United 2 Everton, and it didn't paint the whole picture. I don't know if you watched it, Josh, but Everton should have scored at least. They were unfortunate to lose the game, I thought, in the way they did.
Yeah, well, it's just the same as last week, really, isn't it? It's a story of their season. I've never really seen a team so good in just the general play and build up play, but just so poor in the final third. I've never seen a Premier League team just so good at one thing and bad at the other. It's just you see bad teams all around, and but these just. It's so frustrating because they create the chances that they're quite hard to beat, but they just once they get to the final third, they just look utterly clueless on what to do. I think a few of the commentators said it. They just look so shot of confidence when the goal. It's like none of them want to shoot. It's like to keep passing it along. It's like, oh no, you shoot. It's like they're just all scared to just have a pop sometimes. And then the only ones who do have a crack from outside the box, people like Decore and Idrissa Gueye, you wouldn't exactly want them shooting from that type of area, because 9 times out of 10 it's going in the stands. But then it's just like the forwards, when they do have clear-cut chances, they either don't take them, or even like yesterday, you can just see how shot up the other day, whenever it was, you can just see how much confidence they're lacking in. It's like they're just so scared just to take a shot, some of them. It's just, they could have even gone a 0-0, but 2 silly penalties to give away, really. There was no clear danger. There was danger, but it's not like he was clean through. There was no need to do it, especially the first one. Tarkowski, just stand up. It's early on in the game. Yeah. Just keep yourselves in it. Like, why?
Schoolboy errors. Garnacho's always going to go down. And look, yeah, both of them are penalties. I didn't like, there's, I think TNT put up an angle of like he went down, he was rolling around Garnacho, and then he got the penalty. He got up and went, yes, like that. And I mean, I don't particularly like to see that. Yeah, it was clumsy. They were both penalties, and they could have been. And to be fair, they could have been not ignored. That's the wrong word. It could have been, it could not have happened quite easily, is what I'm trying to say. And then it might have been a goalless draw, because Manchester United then didn't need to go out and score loads of goals, because they were pretty much gifted 2 goals in the end, which sort of killed the game off. It's a difficult outlook for Everton now, with a points deduction, who knows, looming or not, 4 points above the relegation zone. Luton, the only team that's going to catch them, that's currently in that bottom 3, it's going to go down to the wire. That is for sure. Let's see who is joining us in the chat. Grandad is in. Hello, everyone. He's getting worried, and I think you've got a reason to as well, I'm afraid. Evening, Curtis. I hope you are well as well. Next up, we'll move on to Turfmoor. No, Dean Court. Bournemouth 2, Sheffield United 2. Again, a bizarre result here. Sheffield United were beating Bournemouth at one point, but Bournemouth managed to drag it back to salvage a point in this game. It's not something I saw coming, to be honest, Josh. And Bournemouth this calendar year have just sort of chugged along, not really doing anything after a pretty good December.
Yeah, they have in December. They looked unstoppable, really. I think they won 5 out of 6. I think they drew to us, and the rest, I think they won. They had a ridiculous December, because I remember about November time, after about 10 or 15 games, we were all saying, I think it's going to be them 4 in. It was the 3 new promoted teams in Bournemouth, because they got off to a really poor start and were struggling. And all of a sudden, they just found a groove and looked unbeatable, really. But yeah, since this year, I think they've only won 1 game, or 1 or 2 maybe. I still think the performance levels are quite good. I watched them against Man City the other week, and Hardy didn't score. I don't know. They absolutely peppered the goal second half. But it's similar to Everton, not quite as bad, but it's similar as in they create lots of chances. They've got some good creative players, but they can't put the ball in the net. Solanke, he's had a very good season, to be fair to him, but then he had a shocker. He slipped for the penalty and it went over the bar. He had a bit of a mare there. Although he has been very good this season. But yeah, I think Bournemouth, they've got nothing to play for here now. I think that win against Burnley last week, that sort of sealed the safety. So they're sort of just going to be between about 14th and 11th now. So not much to play for. They'll be all right. They've got a good manager there. They've got new owners as well. Not new owners, about 12 months now, but they definitely put a bit more money in, sign players like Alex Scott, Sinisterra, Semenyo. So it's quite a good future for Bournemouth. As one of the clubs are probably just happy to be in the Premier League. So yeah, it's not a great result for them. As for Sheffield United, I didn't see it coming, to be honest. It's a funny old game after they got absolutely battered again by Arsenal. But yeah, fair play to them. There's a reaction and unlucky to concede late on, but it's just, I think both goals were from set pieces, and it's just like some of the defending is just schoolboy errors, as you said, for Everton before. It's just, and that's why you're going down probably. They've got no chance now. I think it's 10 points. They show a bit of fight in some games, like they seem to get battered and then just pull a win out of nowhere. Like the other week, they got battered by us, and the next week they beat Luton away, and then they got battered again. So it's one of them. That's what you're going to get in the Wilder. You know, they'll always have a bit of fight in them still, even when they're down and out, but they're simply not good enough. I heard Wilder come out moaning as well.
I saw that. I was going to mention that. You know, in his post-match press conference, he basically came out and said that the press are driving a narrative and the media are driving a narrative that Luton are going for Europe and at least Burnley are having a go and Sheffield United are the worst team in the world. And
yeah,
I mean, they're getting battered.
Luton haven't been battered like they have, and exactly. I know Sheffield United and Luton, it's very similar because they haven't spent any money whatsoever, and both got very small budgets, and both never given a chance. But the difference is they are actually competing, and you're not. It's too late now. You can compete in some games like that, but they aren't getting battered left, right, and centre at home like you are. So I don't know what he's on about there really, but. Yeah, they'll keep fighting, but yeah, one of the worst Premier League teams in recent history, really, aren't they?
Absolutely. Just as a word of warning, because I put a tweet out saying that we're doing a show on Twitter before the game, and Sean has replied he's in Lanzarote, but he's got a few pointers for you when we get to the Villa Spurs game, Josh. So be ready. Sean isn't here, but he's still got some things to say to you. Don't worry. Next up, we'll go to Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace 1, Luton 1. A forgettable game, if I'm going to be totally honest. I'll do this one to give you a bit of a break, Josh. Yeah, Crystal Palace 1, Luton 1. I mean, Luton probably would have felt like this is a game that they would have went and or wanted to try and push on and win. They've got a point out of it, and I'm sure they would have probably taken the point before. But really, realistically, if they wanted a chance to stay, this is a game where they probably would have been targeting all 3 points. I know it's away, but Palace really haven't been very good this season. But I think they'll be relatively happy with a point. Oliver Glasner's start at Selhurst Park has been a little bit indifferent. I think there were some criticisms of him after the Spurs game, but then they beat Burnley in his first game, which we couldn't do, for goodness sake. So fair play to him for that. But yeah, there's been a little bit of indifferency with his opening few games at Crystal Palace. I think it's a project, of course, that will go into next season, and they demanded better football. I know how they feel, and I don't know whether they're getting it. I haven't watched. It seems like he's a more expansive manager, and it would seem that is what they are requesting, probably what they're going to get eventually. Of course, it takes time. You can't just shift from playing Moyes ball, Hodgson ball, football straight into playing beautiful Ange ball, attacking football. You can't just flick a switch and do it. So it's going to take time for Crystal Palace. This is probably a disappointing result for them. They aren't fighting for anything. Palace, they aren't realistically going to go down, and they're nowhere near European places. So does it really matter in the grand scheme of things for Palace? Not really. Of course, they'd like to win. They didn't. There's more on it for Luton. Absolutely. They're still fighting for their lives, trying to muster as many points as they can, and probably hoping for Forest and Everton to receive a points deduction to give them a bailout to stay in the league. But look, Luton will be relatively happy with a point. Crystal Palace, just they just are what they are, aren't they, Palace? You know, they finish mid-table. They don't go down. They don't go for Europe. It just is what it is for them. Next, we'll go to Molineux. Wolves 2, Fulham 1. Now, Fulham were a side that were gaining quite rapidly on Wolves, and they're chasing pack for those European places. This has moved Wolves back 6 points ahead of Fulham in the league table. They've done some quite good things under the radar this season, Fulham, without anyone really mentioning them. But Wolves beat them 2-1 at Molineux. Josh, I can't imagine you've got too many things to say, but I'm going to get you to describe it anyway. Wolves 2, Fulham 1.
Yeah, it's I've seen the highlights, and there's not a lot to say about it, to be honest. It looked like Fulham were a much better side. They had quite a few chances, definitely the better chances, more of the ball, as you'd expect. But Wolves, fair play to them, a couple of goals on the counter, and they got the job done. I know they've got quite a few injury problems. I believe Neto is out again, and Matheus Cunha, one of the best players, is also out for the season. And there's rumours that they'll have to sell Neto in the summer for financial reasons. So fair play to them. Most people had them to go down. I myself thought they'd just about be all right, but I'd never said they'd done this well. I think they're up to 8th or 9th now, so definitely battling for the European places. So fair play to them. As for Fulham, yeah, one of them, they play nice football. They've got a decent manager in Silva. A bit like Bournemouth, Palace, etc. They're probably never going to get into the top 8, 7 or 8. They're always just going to be between about 9th and 14th. And again, they've come up a few times the last few years and went straight back down. So they're probably just happy to stick there for the few years. Yeah, it's probably the forgettable game of the weekend, to be honest. But yeah, fair play to Wolves.
How do you assess Wolves' chances going into the European battle then? Because currently, just to paint the picture, Wolves are 9th on 41 points. They're just 2 points off us, West Ham, who are on 43. So 2 points off Europa Conference League currently. Played the same amount of games. Do you put Wolves down as having a eligible chance to get in European football?
I think they'll end up about 9th or 10th, to be honest. I think teams like Newcastle, West Ham, they've got a much stronger squad. Especially Newcastle, they're not playing in Europe anymore. I know Wolves aren't either, but they've got a much stronger squad. Even with Newcastle's injuries, Wolves have also got injuries. And look how many players they sold in the summer. So, yeah, Wolves' squad is very thin. And they're just a bit inconsistent, aren't they? They sort of win 2 and then lose 1. So, like, they beat Spurs the other week, but then I think they're just about to scrape past Sheffield United. They've lost a few games at home. So, yeah, I think they'll just miss out. But fair play, I think a top-half finish, that'll be a massive overachievement for them. And whatever, even if they come 12th or 13th, that's still, the fans would have snapped your hand off for that at the start of the season. So, yeah, Gary O'Neill is definitely a contender for manager of the season.
Yeah, it's done some good things there at Molineux, that is for sure. Next up, I'll do this one so Josh can rest his voice ahead of Villa Spurs that is coming up after. We'll go to the Emirates. Arsenal 2, Brentford 1. It was actually quite refreshing for Arsenal to not batter a side for once this week. I quite enjoyed it, actually. And yes, it was an element of fortune with it, with the, quite frankly, cock-up from Aaron Ramsdale in the Arsenal goal. He's received some sympathy from the media and pundits, and I don't know whether that's deserved or not, because obviously they were going to have 2 number 1s, Arsenal, and they ended up with a number 1 and number 2, and Ramsdale has fallen on the wrong side of that, and he's had to come into this game because Raya is ineligible due to them playing his parent club, because he's still on loan at Arsenal, not a permanent signing. So Ramsdale had to come in and didn't paint himself in any glory in that first half. It looked like Arsenal were relatively comfortable, going to cruise to a victory, and then just before half-time, on the stroke of half-time, it was, just a moment of madness and an inability to clear the ball from Ramsdale. He was put in a slightly awkward position by, I think it was Kivior, I'm not sure the defender who it was, and he just couldn't clear his lines, and it was good by Vista, I think it was, who managed to close him down, got that bit of luck as the attempted clearance rebounded and went in to the back of the net, and all of a sudden I perked up a bit and I was like, oh, here we go, we've got a game on our hands here. And I mean, they were 5 minutes away, Arsenal, from dropping points at home to Brentford, which would have been an incredibly disappointing result for them going into the run-in with 10 games to go now. But in the end, it's been a pretty perfect weekend for them. Liverpool and City play each other and drop points, both of them. And they, in the end, churned out a result. Sometimes you've got to do that. If you're going for a title, you're not going to batter teams every week like they have been doing. You've got to win ugly, and that's exactly what they did. I think that goal was coming towards the end. There was a sense of inevitability that they were going to score towards the end. I just got that feeling, and it came courtesy of Kai Havertz. And on balance, they probably deserved to win the game. But Brentford, they had a few chances as well, and they definitely perked up a little bit in that second half. And I mean, Ivan Toney had that shot that he tried to lift over Aaron Ramsdale. That would have topped off a really, really disappointing evening for the Arsenal number 2. But he pulled off a couple of good saves, that one, and from a header later on for Burnley as well. Good save from Aaron Ramsdale. So he sort of made up for things in the second half, and it doesn't matter too much from an Arsenal perspective now because they did get the 3 points. Let's take some comments. Of course, you were very relieved when Crystal Palace equalised. Absolutely, because Luton winning would have been an absolute nightmare for Everton. We haven't got a game for 3 weeks now, but our next game is away at Bournemouth on the 30th of March. So all we can hope for is that Luton, Nottingham Forest don't start gaining points very true. Of course, we've got this mini break now. I think there's FA Cup and a few Premier League games next weekend. Of course, we're both out of the FA Cup, Josh, so we are playing each other next weekend. But yeah, we've got a bit of a international break after that as well, so some teams don't play for 3 weeks. It's a little bit bizarre the way things have fallen. Right, let's get up what Sean has said about this one. I'm sure you've got plenty of criticisms of your own team, Josh. I'm sure I'm right there, but let's start with what Sean has said direct from Lanzarote. Where is it? Here it is. So he said, tell Josh 3 Villa season ticket holders told me that no Premier League team has troubled Villa as much as Spurs, and Emery went with a back 5 due to fear as Spurs completely outplayed them in the reverse fixture, a red and the type of foul that should be reds. Can I just put to you both, we've seen many late missed time tackles with no intent to get red cards. Fans demand it, but often accidentally. Ones like McGinn, which is a pure intent to hack and injure, which needs cutting out of the game more. So your opinions on the game, Josh, your opinions on the tackle that's got everybody talking, and anything else you want to chuck in there as well. Josh, over to you.
Yeah, well, first of all, the reason why we played a back 5 was because of Jacob Ramsey being out when we hoped he was fit. Emery said it was a 50-50, but he failed his fitness test on the day before the game, and he wasn't even in the squad. So Jacob Ramsey was meant to play in that role, but because that number 10 role, but because he was out, so he didn't trust Morgan Rogers or Diaby to play there. So he instead went with a 5 at the back. So yeah, I don't think he did that in fear of Spurs, because ideally I think he wanted to come out straight on the Spurs' toes, a bit like we did against City and Arsenal, where we just come out steaming from minute 1, and it was not like that at all. First off, I thought it was a bit cagey, to be honest. I don't think we were great. Spurs were definitely the better team, but even then, I'd probably say we had the better openings and chances. No, it was not a great game, but I definitely think that system left us a bit better defensively. However, going forward, in the first half, we just couldn't keep the ball whatsoever. We couldn't string 3 passes together, which is what the opposite of what we've been like this season. We were just surrendering possession, which we haven't really done since we were under Gerrard. I've never seen us give the ball away so many times. And when we did break away, Leon Bailey was back to his old usual self. He really poor. Even Watkins as well, just too slow in his decision making. So the first half going forward wasn't great at all. I thought we looked quite solid defensively. It's a bit of a cagey game. And then second half, I actually thought there was a bit of reaction. First 5 minutes, they were pressing a bit better. And then we just get caught with the pressing, and it's just ridiculous ball from, I think it was Maddison. And then we'll find ourselves 1-0 down, and then a stupid mistake from Esri Konza, giving the ball away 2 minutes later, makes it 2-0. And the amount of goals we conceded just after half time this season is getting a bit silly now. I've seen a stat saying 35% of our goals conceded has come between minute 45 and 60. Which is just mental, really, and it needs to be cut out because it is costing us. It's getting a bit ridiculous now. and then from then it was shocking really. McGinn was the only one who looked interested. And to be honest, before that he was the best player. He's the only one who really looked up for it. And I thought after Ajax, the dismal showing at Ajax, don't know, we got a point we were happy with at the time, but probably thinking we've obviously played like that against Ajax because we've got the Spurs game in mind, and hopefully we'll save all our energy for that and we'll come out to traps from minute one, absolutely just steaming them. It just wasn't like that. McGinn was the only one who looked like that, which is why I'd probably be really angry at my captain for doing something like that. But no, because I think what he was just trying to say to this team, come on, I'm on my own here. Now, on the red card, I think what I will say is I think it's on the other side of the pitch and the Spurs bench don't react like that, then I don't think the ref gives it. I think the reaction from the Spurs bench absolutely turns the referee. It's a shocking challenge, don't get me wrong. I probably would say it's just like a red, but I don't think the ref gives it still if it's on the other side.
I watched the clip and you know, to be honest, I watched the clip straight away, and the two managers were actually the most two, you know, most two sensible there, because all of the Spurs backroom staff come running out, and Ange and Unai Emery were the ones that were actually trying to like calm things down and, you know, let's not be silly about this. Listen, it's a yellow card in the 80s and it probably is a red card. And do you know what? I smiled when I saw it. I thought that's a proper Brexit tackle. But at the end of the day, it probably is a red.
Yeah, but I do think that their reaction definitely influenced the referee's decision, absolutely. But yeah, it weren't a great challenge, but I'm not even too angry with McGinn, to be honest, because he was the only one who looked bothered. All the others, they just... I know we played Thursday and Spurs had an extra week off, but that's not an excuse at the end of the day. It's only Amsterdam. It's a 40-minute flight. It's like, it's not like they've been to like, I don't know, Qatar or something a few days before. We should be doing a lot better. I thought, especially, I wouldn't have even minded either if we like sort of battered Ajax, but that performance against Ajax is also really lacklustre. And in one of the biggest weeks of our season, we really have let ourselves down. And to me now, top four, I'm sort of writing it off, because if you look at our games left, we've still got to play Arsenal and City away, still got Liverpool to play, West Ham and Brighton away. So there's 5 tough games straight away. So, and Spurs, we're 2 points ahead, and they've got a game in hand. So I'm sort of writing off top 4 and just hoping that we should be able to hang on to 5th realistically, and hopefully that gets us Champions League. If City or Arsenal get to the semi-finals, then that should do it. So I'm hoping that happens, and we should be all right. I'd like to think we wouldn't blow an 8-point lead on United now. Although McGinn, it's going to be a massive miss, and he's so important to the way we play. Even like the playing up from the back, not many players can just spin away from a player like he does. Just get his body in, get his backside in the way, and just spin away from a player. Like he's just, it's a bit like how Eden Hazard used to play, but more tenacious sort of thing. He's just, yeah, he's probably our best player, to be honest with you, and the captain. So it's going to be a big miss, especially with Boubacar Kamara going out, getting injured a few weeks ago. We thought that would be a big miss, although we did win 3 in the bounce since he was out. But yeah, the next 2 are massive: West Ham and Wolves. West Ham away, Wolves at home, and then City away, which is a bit of a free hit. But,
yeah. So look, we discussed this time last week. We discussed the magnitude of the next 7 days for Aston Villa. So I think, for the tone of your voice, it's fair to say you're underwhelmed and disappointed with how those 2 games have gone. I didn't watch you on Thursday night, so I didn't know whether that was a decent result for return for what the performance was or not. And obviously, this one speaks for itself. So I can sense you're disappointed, and you've probably lost an opportunity here over the last 7 days.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Spurs, they were very good. The press was definitely absolutely causing us problems. First off, even then, we just could not keep hold of the ball, and they absolutely dominated, really. Although I think if you don't get to send it off, you just never know. But no, we did look rattled, to be honest. Second half, as soon as they got the second goal, we just capitulated, and that from again summed up the day really. And yeah, at home, I don't think any team has caused us that type of trouble, even though home form since 2024 has been very, very poor indeed. Only one win against Forest, and all the rest we've lost, I think. So yeah, to win 15 games on the spin, now we've won about 1 in 7. It's just typical Villa really, but yeah, hopefully we should bounce back. West Ham and Wolves, if we win next week, it's all rosy again. And then nice international break then to recharge the batteries. But got the second leg of Europe as well against Ajax on Thursday, so that's also a massive game. But then you've got to think about West Ham as well. So yeah, it's going to be tough now, but hopefully we can hang on to 5th.
There we go. Some intriguing developments in the world of Aston Villa. Most people were surprised by the Villa Spurs result and had Villa down for the home win. I agree, it was a straight red. A rush of bloods ahead, it was, for sure. Our resident Chelsea fan, Simon, is here. I hope you are. Well, you know what? I just looked down the fixtures to see whether we've done Chelsea yet. And until I realised they're on tonight, aren't they? Chelsea versus Newcastle. Follow us. They don't follow the Monday Night Football pre-show. They follow us here on West Ham Unofficial. The Monday night kickoff is Chelsea versus Newcastle. That should be an intriguing mid-table contest, Simon. Sorry, I just had to. I couldn't resist. Right, we'll give Josh's voice a rest next, and we'll go to the Amex. Brighton 1, Nottingham Forest 0. Brighton have been quite indifferent this season, and I was quite intrigued to see how they would respond after that battering at the hands of Roma on Thursday night, and they responded by getting over the line. They've struggled after European games this season. They've been a little bit lacklustre and just haven't churned out results, but they've churned this one out as a response. Listen, they're out of Europe now, Brighton. They aren't going to turn around a 4-goal deficit at home to Roma on Thursday. If they do, I'll eat my hat up there. I just can't see them turning that around in any way, shape, or form. So I think it's probably a fair assessment to rule Brighton out of any developments in Europe this season. They're still in with a chance of qualifying through league position, I could argue. Look, they sit now. Where are they in the league, Brighton? They are. If my thing will load. Brighton are 8th. They're just a point off of us in 7th. So they're still in with a shot of qualifying for Conference League, perhaps. But yeah, ultimately they'll be disappointed with how things went on Thursday. Not probably a lesson of the big European teams and how they play. But in terms of this one, Nottingham Forest, would they have probably seen it as an opportunity? Brighton depleted after a poor result midweek, having to fly back from Rome and a little bit of a European hangover. I don't know. It was a narrow defeat for them. Don't know what happened. I didn't watch it. I was at the pub doing my Mother's Day duty. So look, it is what it is. Brighton, I think they'll still probably be rather annoyed with the more important game that happened on Thursday. But they got the 3 points. They've kept themselves in the conversation for Europe. And Nottingham Forest, well, they need to start picking up some points with a looming point deduction, which could appear at any given time. They're just 3 points off of the drop zone, and Luton have a game in hand on Nottingham Forest as well. So that it's all still to play for down at the bottom. Forest could go down. It's not wildly out of the realms of possibility, so they'll still be cautious and a little bit apprehensive. Forest and Brighton, yeah, I think their season now focuses, of course, on the league and qualifying for Europe again through league positions. I'm watching the build-up, but they're talking about Liverpool. Can you guess the pundit on Monday Night Football? It's Carragher and Wright tonight, isn't it? So yeah, of course they're talking about Liverpool. Carragher's on there. I think Ian Wright's on there tonight. So no doubt there'll be a slice of Arsenal in there as well. This game was a great result for Everton. It certainly was. Next up, we'll go to something that probably wasn't a great result for Everton, even though it doesn't really matter because Burnley are down, aren't they? West Ham 2. Burnley 2. Well, this was crap, wasn't it? Completely and utterly rubbish. I'm not going to talk about it too much because I didn't watch it. I was at the pub and I was pretty glad I was at the pub actually, because did it shock me at all? Slightly it shocked me. I'm not going to lie. Slightly it shocked me. But I'm going to hand over to Josh because I've talked about it to death and I don't really want to talk about it anymore. From your perspective, 2-0 down at half time. salvaging a point in the end. There was a VAR handball decision, however you've seen it, Josh. A little bit of volley. You haven't seen it. There was a little bit of volleyball going on in the box. I can see why it wasn't given, but I was also a little bit annoyed with that. But from just looking at this result, obviously it's a poor result for us, for a Burnley team that are effectively down. How do you see it?
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I didn't watch the game as I was watching the Villa one, but I was keeping an eye on the score. Well, I definitely think it's 2 points drop for West Ham, first of all, absolutely. Shocking, really, because I watched Burnley against Bournemouth last week, and Burnley, literally, they do remind me of Everton. I think they are one team who were maybe just as bad as Everton for good build-up play, but can't stick the ball in the net. And they're just so frustrating to watch. They refuse to go long. They just continue to play up from the back. And then when they do get openings, they can't take the chances. It's just a young team who they've got no Premier League experience whatsoever. A lot of players are playing out of position. And yeah, it was just people saying they're going to finish mid-table and all that. I did think they'd stay up, I've got to be honest. They have shocked me how bad they've been. But they've just been, no, it's not been great. So I was very.
Words can't really describe how poor they've been, and to be fair, we've been fortunate against them. Back in November, it took two goals incredibly late on in a Souček winner in the 93rd minute to overcome them at Turf Moor, and we've given them a point, which in the grand scheme of things is going to mean absolutely nothing because they're going to go down nevertheless. So it's just quite embarrassing actually that we haven't picked up points there. Well, right, we picked up one, but we didn't pick up all three. It's 2 points lost massively. If we win this game, we're up to 45. All of a sudden, then we're only 2 points off of Manchester United. But no, we're 4 points off of Man United, which is doubles that deficit that is there. It's a huge opportunity lost, and with the running of games we have, we needed to win this game, and we needed a full return from the 3 games against Brentford, Everton, and Burnley. We needed 9 points. We've got 7. Okay, it's not the worst return in the world, but coming up now, we've got Villa, Newcastle, Spurs, Wolves, Fulham, Palace, Liverpool, Chelsea, Luton, and Man City to finish off the season. There's not too many games that are sticking out to you there as definite 3 points. Luton on the penultimate day of the season, on the second to last match week, they're going to be fighting for their lives, aren't they? Look, we've got you boys next week, and obviously, it might play into our hands, the battering you got. We're both playing in Europe, so that might come into the fray, Josh, next week. And then we've got Newcastle. Again, we've got some tough games in there. It's just a really poor result. And I mean, we were 2-0 down, so probably 2-2 in the end. Was pretty thankful that we managed to get at least a point out of it from that position. But look, really poor. There's not too much else to say. I'm sure we'll do a preview about the Villa game nearer the time, because we've both got European stuff to be concerned about, Josh. But again, another big week for me and for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say I'm the most confident.
Neither am I. That makes 2 of us.
We haven't got the greatest of records at West Ham. I think the last time we beat them was at the start of the season, was probably the only time I ever remember us beating you. And I never ever remember us beating us away. So, no, I'm especially after that batter, and then we're playing in Europe again. I don't know. It's going to be a tough game, but we'll see what happens.
We certainly will. Let's go on to the main event, but before we do, let's take some of your comments. West Ham get the point. Well done to the Hammers. Andy, thanks for joining us. I hope you are well. Here we go then. The Super Sunday, Peter Drury, Liverpool 1, Manchester City 1. I think City are quite thankful they got a point in the end. An utter barrage from Liverpool in the second half. I assume you watched as much of it as you could. Josh, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought City were very lucky. Liverpool, they had them absolutely rattled for even in the first half after City got the goal. Liverpool still had chances to equalise, which we never took. And how they only got the one in the second half, I don't know. Although I think the Edison challenge, that sort of that made them rattled, if you know what I mean, because they were sort of in control to start the second half until then. You know, if you just keep the ball, take the sting out the game, just quieten the crowd down, don't do anything stupid, and you'll probably be all right. But then that just got everyone up for it. And I don't know how they managed to escape with a point, to be honest, although they did have a few chances to nick it themselves with Foden and Doku at the end, hitting the post. But no, Luis Diaz, he could have had about 4 goals. I don't know how he never got one in the end. As for the Edison challenge, yeah, that was a bit silly, and I heard he's going to be out until April now as well. He's going to miss the Arsenal one on the 31st. Although the ball back from Ake, that put him under pressure, to be fair. If he wouldn't have done that bad of a ball, he wouldn't have had to take him out. Although he never had to take him out, to be fair. He could have just showed him wide and done something.
It was naive from Edison, wasn't it? It quite shocked me, actually.
Yeah, it was. People can say it's the best goal in the world, but if you put him with someone like, I don't know, a mid-table side, I think he gets showed up a bit more there, only because he plays in such a good team and he's so good with his feet. But yeah, the back pass from Ake was shocking, and it did put him under. Although, yeah, there was poor decision making, never had to do that. And the penalty at the end, to me, that's a penalty. But and Liverpool, to be fair, they have been a bit hard done by this season with some of the decisions. But you know, the City had one in the reverse fixture where they had one disallowed. I think it was a Kanji where it shouldn't have been. So it's sort of one apiece. And people are saying City have never been rattled like that. Well, when we beat them in December, I don't think anyone's done that to them, to be
honest. Get that in there, Josh. Well done, son.
We absolutely. It's just people will just go so under the radar though with things like this. Like if it weren't just a 1-0 where we just grinded it out. It could have been literally 6 or 7. We absolutely, they were rattled from minute 1 in that one. But anyway, back to this game. Yeah, City, they're very lucky to escape a point. And the title race is wide open now. If you look at the games Liverpool have got coming up, I think they've got 3 home games in a row. The Brighton, Palace, Sheffield United. So they've definitely got a better run of games. Man City, they've got Arsenal and then Villa, which they should be winning, but Arsenal home and Villa home. But you know, the tougher games than Liverpool. So yeah, to be honest, I'd probably fancy Liverpool at this point. I don't really want Liverpool to win it. Out of the 3, I'd probably say Arsenal just because it's someone different, although I don't really like them either, to be honest, but at least it'll be someone different. City, they just win it every year. I can't stand it.
Yeah, I know. I know your frustrations towards Man City, but to be honest, Josh, I'm in your shoes with Liverpool. I can't really stand them, and Arsenal, don't even get me started on them. So City for me, 4 in a row. Pep Guardiola, I'd love to see that because honestly, I don't quite think I could deal with the Klopp-a-thon. If they win, honestly, it'll just be so tedious, and I can't see number 41 or Arsenal or Mikel Arteta winning the league title. I just don't want to see it. So City is who I'm supporting, and I cheered them on yesterday afternoon, and I will continue to until May. Of course, I want us to beat them on the final day of the season, but we'll see what happens. They finally stopped talking about Liverpool on Monday Night Football. See, you get biasness there. They finally started talking about the game now, 20 minutes before it starts. You want to be here discussing all of the wide-ranging, all of the games. And now I'm going to get your prediction for the Monday Night Football, Josh. Chelsea versus Newcastle, the battle of the mid-tableness. What do you reckon?
What, Chelsea at home, Hardy?
They are, yeah.
Probably just go for a 1-1. It'd be boring. 2 sides are out of form, really. Newcastle, they haven't really looked the same since about the first 10 games, and then Europe, it's just caught up with them, injuries, etc. So yeah, and Chelsea, they seems like they're back for 1 game, then they lose 2 more. So yeah, I don't know. You'd probably fancy Chelsea to get something at least. So I'll probably go for 1-1, yeah.
1-0 says Josh. Is it true Klopp's leaving? I don't know. To be fair, lots of people are sharing your frustration, Simon, because I've just flicked over to Twitter and the first tweet I see is, "Hi Sky Sports Premier League. Is there a game on tonight? Because Chelsea. Is there a game on tonight between Chelsea versus Newcastle? As I've been on your channel now for 30 minutes and it's all about Liverpool, as it is every single Monday." So there we go. Some frustrations aligned, Simon. But look, I'm gonna back a Chelsea narrow win. I think 2-1 at home. I think they'll just overcome Newcastle. 2-1 to the Blues. Don't ask me who's going to score because I don't feel I could name anybody apart from Sterling in that Chelsea lineup. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Drop a like on the video and subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you are new. Josh, we meet on Sunday. No luck at all your way.
Oh yeah, I'm not confident. I'll just leave it at that.
He's not confident. He will leave it there. Josh, pleasure as always. We'll try and get Sean back next week for his input as well to take the strain off of Josh slightly. But Josh, pleasure as always. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
No worries. I'll see you later.
From me, come on you Irons, at the video from Josh, and we'll see you soon. We're here on West Ham Unofficial. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.